the end of today?
Yeah, it is by today.
Okay, I'll be down.
There's a last grading system. Let's just get it done.
Okay.
Okay, guys.
So should I still cut
This
you guys
is
off?
EdAid's video. Smile, everyone.
We're on video?
Okay.
Yeah, you're on video.
We're on
Is the
video.
lens open?
Okay.
Yes.
So we'll review the process right now.
Alright, there's our scoreboard, which we will be using. And that's where we will be. Grant, your face is in the
Okay, so we're gonna have a 5-minute introduction, and then each of us will review our candidate on the board for 10 minutes, and then after that we will discuss the top 2 candidates. Alright? Am I going? Sure. Okay. Start your time. Yeah. Go for it. Okay, so my candidate was Madison Case, and I gave her a 2 for use of social media. She portrayed her ability by mentioning different outlets like Facebook and Twitter and university portals. However, when describing her strategy, she didn't give much thought to what the strategy was aimed towards, and what this audience uses on social media. In regards to her cover letter, I would give her a 2. She talks about how she's a skilled learner and how she has experience using social media but not creating content. That's cover letter. And then her resume doesn't show any examples of using social media, just different office products. So I would give her. Okay. In regards to multitasking, I would give her a 2. She demonstrated her ability to multitask by talking about how she has taken on a lot of responsibility this year, and she effectively manages her time. However, she didn't give any thought to prioritizing the 2 campaigns or what organizational system she would use to organize her time on the job. In regards to her cover letter, I would give her a 2 as well. She basically talks about how she can multitask all of the different commitments she has, but it doesn't give much thought as to how she manages her time. And then I would also give her a 2 on her resume. I mean, it's like she's very busy, so she has experience doing many different things, but we were just looking for an element of like how to prioritize, or it would have been nice to see like how many hours she's spending each week. In regards to problem solving, I would give her a 2. She talked about how when she would approach learning a new social media platform, she would collaborate with individuals in the office or seek out people who knew about the platform, but she didn't give any other ways to problem solve this. So we were looking for them to come up with more than one way of problem solving. Her cover letter doesn't give much insight into problem solving, just that she can like learn quickly, so I would give it a 1. And her resume talks about how she's worked in customer service positions and how to think on her feet that way, so I would give it a 2. Okay, as for interpersonal skills, as for the interview, I would give her a 2. She suggested a face-to-face conversation when dealing with social loathing. She did not provide a specific solution to the issue, but she did show interest in confronting the problem and recognizing that it is an issue and that the team member is still very valuable. As to her cover letter, I would give her a 3 on interpersonal skills. She's had a lot of experience in the communication department and in customer service positions, working with teams. And then this is also displayed in her resume, working with other people as a workshop leader, being an assistant in the library. And as for cultural fit, I would give her a 2. I think her interpersonal skills would work great with our company, and she asked really informative questions. However, the excitement wasn't really buzzing in the interview. Okay, is there any questions?
About, I have a question.
Yeah.
Why did she get a 0 on the social media? Because she didn't have any mention of it?
There's nothing in her resume that gives light into using social media in any of her positions.
Okay.
And the cover letter should be.
The
kind of-
cover,
oh.
yeah. But the cover letter got a 2. That's why.
The cover letter talks about how she learns quickly, and she talks about kind of like her personal experience with social media, using it, but not necessarily creating content.
Gotcha. Cool.
Are we gonna put the totals up as we go, or are we going to wait?
No,
Maybe
I'll
we should
pull
wait
it.
till the end.
I'll pull the totals from the Excel sheet because they're
Okay.
weighted.
I added these, I
And
do.
this is some crazy ass muffin. So yeah, for cultural fit, I would deem that moderate.
Do we say how qualified we think they are? Do we?
I think, yeah, so the summary in my memo is that she is moderately qualified and that she would satisfactorily fill this position, but I don't think that she would excel in this position effortlessly.
Cool.
Okay.
That
Yeah.
sounds good.
That's good.
That's
Okay.
acceptable.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No.
Alright, I'm sorry.
Stops for Caitlin.
Woo! Good job, Caitlin.
Thank you for
Next
your
presentation.
Okay.
Alright, who's next?
Okay, let me just make sure this is still working.
Can make sure it's still filming.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. We're good.
Alright.
Alright, so the person that I interviewed was Autumn Davis. So she had a really good cover letter. That was probably the highlight of her entire application process, if that matters. So for her ability to use social media, she highlighted it really well in her cover letter, like I said, but she didn't as much in her interview or her resume. But in her cover letter, she gave examples of what she was doing with social media and like how she'd used it in her previous jobs. So kind of working with her resume or cover letter was really good. So I gave her a 3.
Do you use the green one?
Yeah.
Yeah, here's the.
I gave her a 3. Yeah, it didn't mention social media at all, just kind of public relations. I gave her a 1 just because, I mean, they had to turn in the resume before knowing exactly what jobs they were applying for, so I kind of, well, that's why I asked about you giving a 0. But I gave her a 1, so we can talk about that later if you think that should be. In her interview, I thought it went really well, and she talked about, well, we had come up with our criteria, like prioritizing, or thinking about the audience and what you're going to do with that, but she talked about it a lot more general. She didn't really give specifics in social media, so for that reason I gave her a 2, because she talked a lot about stuff that is applicable to it, but not really direct. That's why I gave her a 2. Her ability to multitask, she addressed it a lot in her cover letter and her resume. She had a lot of different positions that she listed, and within each of those positions she listed whether or not she like her duties, so what she had to do, and a few different positions, especially her current one. She has a lot of different responsibilities, which shows that she can multitask really well. And she's had that for a little while too, so she's done well at it, I would imagine. And even in one of her positions, it said that she does a variety of tasks and then goes on to describe them. So for her resume, I give her a 3. So I'm going to kind of go out of order, but 3. And her wrong one. And her cover letter does address multitasking, but it kind of combines multitasking and problem solving together in like the same examples. So it describes it, but it didn't really go in depth. It talked a lot more about problem solving, but she does mention multitasking. So I gave her a 2, not 1. And then she really directly addressed the issues of multitasking and prioritizing in her interview. She gave different specific ways that she would address the differences in this was a question about having 2 different campaigns and how you manage those. So she gave different examples and those kind of things. And she had pretty interactive ideas, which was really good. So I gave her a 3 on the interview for multitasking. And then, like I said, for her problem-solving one, she mentioned it a lot in her cover letter. More problem-solving and multitasking kind of combined together, but she did address problem-solving more. So I gave her a 3, and I thought she did that really well. Her resume doesn't show direct problem-solving. Like, she talked about all the positions she had and the things she's had to done. So it showed a lot of things that would require problem-solving, but not necessarily like specific examples in how she problem solved, but it was easy to see that she obviously had to use a lot of problem solving because she did some like managing and organizing events and things like that, managing groups. So I gave her a 2 on resume. And then in her interview, this was the question about like new social media and what she would do. She did talk about the researching the new social media and asking other people about it, and gave some more specific examples into how she would do that. But she didn't really talk about using it directly for herself, so I didn't give her a 3 on that one. I gave her a 2. And interpersonal skills. So according to her resume, she has worked with many different people, and this includes working with subordinates and superiors. Like she's had to work with working with kids, like groups of kids, but then also in different organizations, like working with also clients, because she's a public relations volunteer at one of her things. So I gave her a 3 on her resume because it showed that she worked with a lot of different people and a lot of different types of people. And I thought that would show good interpersonal skills. And her cover letter mentions a lot of these same experiences as her resume, but then it also kind of gives more specific examples, but not as many as I thought was necessary. Like she talks about working with other people, but doesn't really kind of go into it. So I gave her a 2 on the cover letter. And then in her interview, she talked about how she would address conflict with other people, but she didn't really go with the answer that we were looking for, so it didn't really fit our criteria. But she did give what I thought was a good answer, so I gave her a 1. But since it wasn't really what we were looking for, couldn't really give her more than that, I didn't think. And then overall, I thought that she would work well with the company. She seemed like she would get along with people, and she does kind of all combine with her experience and the interview and just kind of meeting her. I thought she'd be good, so I gave her a 3 for cultural fit. And that is Autumn Davis. Any questions? Yes.
So when you gave her a 1 for the interview
Yes.
for the interpersonal skills,
Yeah.
what was her answer? Like what
Her
did she
answer,
touch on?
she talked about, because that was a question about how would you manage or address a conflict in cooperation with management.
Mhm.
But she really didn't talk about working with management to address the conflict. She talked about addressing the conflict like with the people you're in conflict with. which I thought she did well, and she said, you know, like it's important to remain calm in the conflict and understand where people are coming from. So a lot of the things that we would be looking for, but she didn't really answer the whole working with management in that situation. She addressed it like at the end. It was kind of just like, and if that doesn't work, we would talk to supervisors.
Okay, did she bring up anything about, like face-to-face?
No. That's why, yeah.
Okay, got it.
That's what she's on. Yeah.
Because they have that face to face. It's really
Yeah,
critical.
because she talked about like understanding where they're coming from, but she didn't like say like, you know, go talk to them directly. Yeah, so that's so that's why I gave her a 1. Which I felt kind of bad because I wanted to give her more because I thought it was a good answer, but it didn't address what we
criteria.
Yeah.
it didn't address what we were looking for. So yeah, so that's Autumn. Any other questions?
Don't think so.
Cool. I think you're good.
All right, you're next.
I'm next. Alrighty. Thank you, friend.
You're welcome.
Oh, I have one comment before you
Yeah.
do this. So since they had to like prepare their resumes prior to applying,
Yeah.
the resume is only count for 10% of that total.
Okay.
So it's
like,
weighted less.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's weighted less than the cover letter.
So
The
in that
cover letter is
case,
30% and the interview is
yeah. In that case, maybe then I would give her a 1 because like I definitely in this one I was thinking, well, it's like, well, she didn't have enough time to like prepare. But if it's like weighted less and we don't count it less, then I mean I would give her a 0 like you did. Is everyone cool if I change that?
Yeah.
Yeah, just keep it a little bit more uniform.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that's just my
There
thought
you go.
process. That's why I wanted to talk about it. But that's good.
Alrighty.
You go.
Cool. I'm gonna set my laptop right here because we can refer to it. Alright, so that was really loud. I interviewed Malika, which was an interesting experience. It was good. In terms of social media in the interview, I would give her a 3. Her response was really actually well thought out. So she mentioned immediately several different social media platforms that she would specifically use and how she would use them. And then because the question was tailored specifically to, you know, a demographic or how would you do this, she really delved into how that specific demographic would approach social media and then how she would market it because of that. So I thought that showed kind of a lot of foresight and a lot of really quick thinking. So I gave her a 3 for that. For the resume, I would give her a 2. She mentioned experience with social media and she had an adequate bit of prior experience, but it was not delved into specifically like how she had used it, or was this personal use, was this something else. So I would give her a 2 for the resume. And then I also gave her a 2 for the cover letter. She did mention that obviously because she had tailored the cover letter to our position, she did mention that she had prior experience, but she didn't really go into specifics about that. So I didn't feel like I could give her a 3 for that. Moving on to the question about multitasking, the interview, I gave her a 3. The question obviously had gone into, you know, different age demographics. How would you market 2 different campaigns simultaneously? The first thing she touched on was the concept of prioritization, which we had talked about actually while we were writing the job description. So I thought that was interesting. She didn't say, oh, you know, we'll give 50-50 to each. She went very in depth about this is what this age group would need and this is what this age group would need, and so if this age group, you know, needs more time, we should spend more time on this. She gave a lot of specifics about how she would market it, including social media and other things like that. So that's why she got a 3 in the interview. I also gave her a 3 on her resume because it showed evidence of having worked extensively with multiple things at the same time. It was kind of like chock full of achievements. So I gave her a 3 for that. The cover letter, I could only give her a 2. She mentioned, obviously, you know, I have good multitasking skills, but she did not go in depth about that as well. So I thought about giving her a 1 for that. So if you guys want to discuss that at the end, we can kind of talk through that as well. I'm willing to kind of go either way on that. Am I talking very fast? I feel like
No, you're good.
Okay, cool.
Just breathe.
Breathing. This is good. All right. Problem solving skills. In the interview, I gave her a 3, and then for the other 2 categories, I gave her a 1 each. So for the interview, hang on, I'm gonna pull this up right here. There we go. Okay, so this was the question about how would you handle not having